We're back
Here we are,
again.
in the corner.
And today we're talking about failure.
I didn't know if you were giving me the cue or you're just dramatic pausing.
I was dramatic pausing. Did it work?
It worked. I was on the edge of my seat.
I think every person listening is still on the edge. It's been a great day so far.
So far, so good. We're not having coffee in the studio today, simply because we want Ice Mountain to be our new sponsor.
Yep.
Ice Mountain, if you're out there, we are drinking your water.
We are.
And we could be spending your money if you want to sponsor us as well.
Can we talk about how superior Ice Mountain is compared to every other water brand until next episode if we decide something
Unless
different.
there's another water brand we want to.
But I do love, I only buy Ice Mountain for the most part.
I never buy bottled water.
You just drink it out of the tap?
Yeah.
It's very efficient of you.
It's very efficient, and it's efficient more than anything.
If it's one thing.
And if I like to be something, it's efficient twice. Efficient.
Let's also just mention the fact that we had a crazy Instagram battle
We did.
on our story. We both have access to the page,
Which
if you guys were wondering.
may or may not be a good thing. We're trying to figure that out.
And we were going back and forth, not even communicating with each other outside of the battle. And it was so funny. So if you guys don't follow us on Instagram or
It
Facebook,
should be.
you need
At
to.
the @ sign. Two dudes in a corner. Very easy to remember. No spaces, obviously, because usernames don't have spaces.
No underscores, nothing.
Right. Flump, 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 flump. Straight through. Two dudes in a corner. What started it all, though, Kyle referred to himself as Dude Dad. Dude Dad.
Dude
wow,
Dad.
I just called out
Dude Dad one.
Which he should be a guest on our podcast sometime. I thought of that. No, but he called himself Dude One, and we hadn't talked about that. We don't know who Dude One is, but he just naturally assumed it. So then I responded to that. Of course, I'm not going to let something like that just lie there, lay or lie there. So then Kyle did a poll and misspelled my name.
Yeah, I did.
Like really bad. I don't know anybody named Aaron who is Arron, and that's how he spelled my name.
I was thinking, I went like pirate mode. Arron, you know?
I'm sure
That's
you
what
did.
was in my head.
No.
I didn't
And I've known
know.
Kyle for 2.5 years now. 2.5 years. And when you know someone 2.5 years, it's just hard for me to wrap my mind around misspelling a name.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, I'm sure most of you agree.
It couldn't have been an
So,
accident. There's no way it was an accident.
No.
Jeez.
So then it got uglier and it got uglier, and still not resolved. But that's why we're here on the podcast today, to kind of, I think, to make amends.
That's not why I'm here. Because you burned the hat I gave you.
Right. My very last story of the evening was me taking off my KT3 hat, putting on a Hurley hat, and burning Kyle's KT3 hat. But I did say I forgave you. So it was very poetic in nature.
Bittersweet
Yeah.
on my end. I was like, he finally forgave me.
Right.
And then the next second, he's burning the hat. I gifted him. Gifted.
Correct. That was a
Gifted
gift.
him. And I'm still a little salty, but I'm going to act like everything's okay.
Right. That's what we have to do for
Last
the
night?
sake of the people.
Cried myself to sleep.
Yep. I heard it from across the river. I heard it.
We have some very... I wish you guys could just see our encounters sometimes via the phone, because we'll either send each other videos because he doesn't have Snapchat.
I'm very old school, everybody.
So we'll just send videos through iMessage, or we'll send audio messages, and they are so funny. I'll literally sit here and laugh at my phone as if he's in front of me. And I feel a little weird about it sometimes, but then I'm like, nah.
But you shouldn't. You really shouldn't.
This is my boy.
And I think that it is something that eventually will probably it will leak out of the podcast into all of your worlds somehow, whether it be through social media, a future YouTube series or something.
Whether you want it or not, you're going to get more of it.
Well, and something I never thought about until we started doing a podcast was, how much of yourself do you share on a podcast? You know?
Yeah.
That's just an honest thought where I was like, are there stories that I'd rather not tell everybody in the world if they had a chance? Because when you have a podcast, anybody in the world can find it.
Literally anyone.
Anybody. anywhere
Anybody
could find it.
Yep.
You know, like Putin, if he could stumble on
I hope he
our
does.
podcast, and he might hear a story about me that I was like, I would have never told Putin that.
But at the same time, if Putin does hear it, we might be the peacemakers between the U.S. and
true.
Russia because of our podcast. So I hope Putin does hear it and he enjoys it and can be like, you guys are hilarious. I don't hate America anymore.
There we go.
And now he's going to hear this and probably we'll see you guys never.
I think I like that. Then we change our podcast name to Two Dudes in the Soviet Union or something.
Two dudes saving the U.S. of A. Well,
yeah, so that's something I thought about.
yeah, that's
We'll
a good
see.
thought.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much you could say on a podcast. I think that's what's overwhelming to me.
And today we're going to talk about things maybe that aren't fun to talk about.
Right.
Like, so Aaron's had some failures apparently that he
Yeah.
wants to share the way he's learned.
Yeah, Kyle hasn't.
I
yet.
haven't failed yet.
So he's going to sit.
I'm going to listen, which
gonna-
I'm super good at listening.
Yeah. When someone asks me about Kyle, the first thing I think of is the best listener I've ever encountered in my life.
Yeah, and
He's always
I
engaged.
seldom have something to say back.
Right.
It's
Yep.
eye contact, you know. So
Engaged.
let's hear about. Well, should we update them on our lives first or after?
Yeah, why don't you go
Okay.
let them wonder what we failed at and just say what you're up to.
Yeah, you guys can you can marinate in that for just a little bit.
Yeah,
Think
marinara.
about, oh my gosh, how have Kyle and Aaron ever failed? They're so cool. Well, you're wrong.
About both things. We're not cool and we failed.
So today is a day in the life of Kyle
Well said.
because I don't know when you're going to listen to this.
Right.
So we're trying to, sway away from things that would direct to one specific day because it could be any day. Anyway, tomorrow I'm going to look at a ton of gym equipment. We're talking like 30 treadmills, 30 ellipticals, like commercial grade, dumbbells, every machine ever, everything in an entire gym, like a commercial gym, and tanning beds and like all the TVs off the wall, like everything in this gym. I am about to have the opportunity to purchase at an extraordinarily discounted price, which would then increase the value of our business by a significant amount. So it's like I have to do it if we can figure out the ways around kind of what's happening with the person who has the equipment and the landlord that they're dealing with and all this other stuff. Like it's kind of a jumbled mess. But it could be a really good opportunity for me to capitalize on something that went wrong for someone else, which kind of stinks, but also he is very passionate about fitness and Jesus, and he is done with the gym. He's like 65, retired now. And so he feels like, he literally texted me and said, like, I've been discouraged because all this stuff happened to me this past couple of years since COVID. He had these huge gyms, and he's like the nicest dude in the entire world. So I feel super bad that kind of happened to him. But now he's like, I feel like I'm starting to, I can kind of help the next guy in line, and he's really excited about it. So that's super cool, and I love it. And then the day following that, I'm going to Florida to look at some properties down there, also to have fun in Florida because it's Fort Myers. If you guys have ever been, it's amazing. If you haven't been, go check it out. So my life, we're trying to figure out the next steps in business, having a baby in less than a month from right now when we're talking. And so then it's like prepare for that. Life is crece, loco, wild, and I love it that way.
Right.
So
Because you're loco.
I am loco.
Loco life for loco people. That's my motto.
Can we talk about the thing that you're doing, or is it too early for that?
What thing?
The song.
The song. Oh, yeah, I can talk about that.
Let's talk about the song.
Definitely talk about that.
It's super interesting.
So this kind of ties into failure. So this is a great, great little loop-de-loop-de-loop-de-loop. I first heard I like Chris Pratt as an actor. I think I first probably was like, I think this guy's cool when I first saw him in Jurassic World. Way back in 2015. I feel like that was one of his first like action movies. Before that, he was obviously Parks and Rec. Very, very funny comedian. And I've just been impressed by some, not all, but some of the things that he has done in the industry. And I had heard that he was starting his own production company called Indivisible Productions. He's a very patriotic guy. unabashedly so. His latest series on Amazon, Terminal List, took a lot of heat from the critics because it was kind of unapologetically pro-American, pro-military, all that kind of stuff. But he's, a very patriotism-driven guy. So when I heard that he was starting Indivisible Productions, I was like, I want to touch base with him and say I'd like to write music for some of his future productions. Which most people would probably say that's a really dumb idea. Which that has happened many times in my life where I just don't think I have a shut-off valve in my brain for bad, necessary, like unrealistic ideas. That valve does not shut off for me.
Which is the best thing about you?
Depends on who you ask. Depends on who you ask. But so I was like, I have a great idea, because I was thinking marketing-wise, what would be a great way to reach out to him? Because I'm not going to just reach out to his agent or his PR person, because that's just dumb. They won't respond to you. So I'm like, social media is the way to go. What's a way I can stand out? So I was like, you know what? I'm going to make a video and say, direct it at Chris, and say, I'm going to make a video every single day directed at you until you respond about this potential. Basically, I was like, let me demo for you. So I did for 26 or 7 days straight. I filmed and edited videos specifically directed at Chris Pratt. And it didn't get Chris Pratt's attention, but I had so many people pulling for me during this time and gained a wildly supportive group of people who anticipated every day a new video. And so it was really fun. I got a little press out of it. I was in American Songwriter magazine. I don't know if I was in the magazine or an online article. Big publication. The title of the article is hilarious. Let me bring that up really fast because it makes me sound kind of like a freak. But that was good. I was in another news station that picked up the story. So I had some fun out of it. Didn't get a hold of Chris.
That was not the goal.
Yeah. But that's one of the things about failure is you get things out of it that you may not realize at the time. It's like a side benefit. Aaron Fullen on movie music and chasing Chris Pratt. Go ahead, look it up.
Creepy Creeperton at...
Yeah. But you can go read it. It's far less creepy when you read through it. But I did hear from his PR agent that basically was like, he doesn't have time to like consider stuff like this, which was not surprising to me. But so that was like 2 years ago. And then I made a reel like 3 weeks ago that literally took me like 10 minutes. And he responded to that reel within like half an hour.
With some laughing faces.
With some laughing faces.
Oh, yeah.
I made Chris Pratt laugh. So that's pretty cool. But my new idea is, recently he talked about his favorite place on Earth. And this is the thing about, you just can't stop trying. I think a lot of people, you try things and fail, and then you're discouraged and you feel like a freak because you spent 25 days of your life making a video for a specific purpose to get their attention. It didn't work. So you're like, well, that was a waste of time. Or you can just re-navigate, try again. So Chris Pratt has a ranch that he absolutely loves. That's his favorite place on Earth. So I'm going to write a theme song, because I write music for all sorts of different things, films, etc. So I'm going to write a theme song for his ranch, and then use that as another avenue of potential communication with him.
I personally like to dip my boneless wings in ranch. So Chris Pratt and I have a lot in common.
A lot in common.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and you both train dinosaurs.
Well, I've been known to. Yeah, I used to. I gave up that gig a while ago.
It just didn't
I
pay
will
well.
say, though, that sounds like a great idea, and I think it's going to work well.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
If you need someone to rap in the song,
yeah,
you know I'm here.
I do know you're here.
Because you heard me rapping Lose Yourself the other day by Eminem, and I know you were like, this boy is he found his calling finally.
Yeah, I still haven't gotten it out of my head. It's
No.
just still in there.
Yeah.
Kyle's rapping. We'll stick with you.
We should make a music video.
Ooh, yes. Easy.
We have so many ideas. We just don't do most of them.
We haven't talked about our castle much lately either. We
Oh
do
my
still have a goal of a
gosh.
castle,
We do.
which is again a small goal in the grand scheme of things. Someone could easily help make that happen for us. It's
Yeah.
just getting it to the right person.
Here's the other thing. I've actually thought about the castle thing
Mm-hmm.
a little bit the past couple days, which is really random.
That's
It's
good.
been on my heart and on my mind.
Yeah.
If there's any masonries out there, not masons, not masonaries, they work with
Are
stone.
they called masonries, or are they call it?
Yeah, I think so. Right? They work with
Can't you
rocks and stones and stuff.
Aren't you called? Hang on. Keep talking.
Masonry. Look up mason. I'm super interested.
Masonry.
What's a masonry?
Did you mean masonry?
Maybe.
Nope. No, because that's stonework. That's like the art.
Yeah,
of,
that's what we want.
but it's not the people who deal with
What are those people
masonry.
called?
I know. What do you call people who
I think it's a masonry, but I'm
Who
not sure. I could be
deal
super wrong.
with masonry? Freemasonry or no? That's
No,
that's the
that's
maternal order.
Oh my
It's called a
gosh.
mason.
Oh, okay.
A person who constructs masonry is called a mason
Okay.
or bricklayer.
Okay.
There we go.
I'm sorry.
No,
I
it's just-
added an
it's-
ARY.
Yeah, it's all right. ARRON masonry.
I'm not good with
There's a
spelling
theme
or
here.
words. But if there's any masons out there who really are looking for a gig
Yeah,
that unpaid,
strictly voluntary.
also we don't have the materials, so we'll need those provided as well.
the earth does.
The earth has the materials, so if
Plenty
you want
of
to
stones.
mine the stones and build the castle, we would be more than willing to
To
let
go
you to let you visit once a month.
Yes,
Like
like
after
a
the completion.
good 2 or 3 hours every month.
Exactly.
Like it'd be an extended stay.
We'll probably at that point have our coffee pot too, so we can brew you some coffee.
know.
You can sit.
I know.
You can maybe, if you did a really good job, sit at the podcast table and drink coffee with us.
If you were really, really quiet.
Right. Just
Then you could.
basically just don't talk.
Right. We do have a bunch of. We're not condoning this. I'm not promoting this. I'm not saying you should do this. But we do have a bunch of rocks near this gym, just down by the river.
Yeah.
We've got, there's a ton of stones that
Take
I'm
the
pretty
dike,
sure
Yeah.
most would not be missed if
No one would
if you
know.
could roll them off of the dike. But yeah, so
The castle's still in the works, and so if anyone wants to donate, our Venmo is not yet been set up.
Yeah.
Nor is our GoFundMe.
and it doesn't have to be huge. We're talking 12 bedroom, 6 bath,
right.
12 half bath.
Nothing like the Queen of England.
No, nothing like
that.
Buckingham.
Right.
Just your average, everyday, huge, luxurious castle.
Right.
That's
yeah.
all we ask. That is all we ask.
That's all we need.
Small in the grand scheme of things.
But
So
think of the ways that you'll benefit too, because our podcast will only be better and more interesting in a castle.
yes, yep, and even better. Oh, there's just so many ideas. But if you can find an old castle with bunch like a tunnel system below it that no
Oh
one's ever
my
discovered,
gosh.
we could do a new podcast episode in a new tunnel every day and unearth what bones, artifacts, everything.
I
it'd
love
be
where your head's
so
at, Fulton. I love when a plan comes together.
I do too. I'm glad we could share some of that vision. But going back to me, like if we could just pull everything back to me.
We have been talking about something else for way too long.
It's
Back
making
to
me
Fulton.
very uncomfortable.
Yep.
So that exciting little tidbit today too that I haven't even told Kyle yet. There was a movie I was in January that is premiering at its first film festival in October, and they just dropped the official trailer today. I'm not in the trailer, but it looks incredible.
Let's
I had a
go,
very
dude.
small role in it. I'll probably be on the screen for minute and a half,
That's
maybe.
Enough to make me happy.
A big scene that's between me and the lead girl. So it's very exciting. It looks incredible. Filmed mostly over in England. But my portion of it was filmed. 2 weeks of it was filmed in Nashville. So that's where I went in January, and really enjoyed my time there. But it was, sorry, go ahead.
Some Nashville chicken sandwich. You
Yeah,
ever had a hot Nash?
I did.
Was it good?
It was very good. I had it in Minneapolis.
You did?
Minneapolis.
Manny.
Yeah, I like hot Nash. It's not my fave, I think, in
No.
general.
I don't like spicy food.
I do like spicy food. But to me, it's like, it just tastes like hot sauce.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, that was exciting. My wife and I are going to do a radio ad for someone here in the community, which is always fun. My wife is incredible. My wife could be a professional voice actress. I'll just say that right now. My agent actually wants my wife to start an account, an Actors Access account, which is where we all, those of us who are acting, get all of our casting calls and things like that. My agent reached out to me and said, you should have your wife start one so I can start submitting her for voiceover, because we auditioned together for something recently. And yeah, my wife's just very good. And her mom told her that she could do voices since she was like a little kid. And I am vouching for that. So
That's so cool.
if you have any voiceover needs out there for a very talented woman, just give me a ring.
Tabby's cool, dude.
She's really cool.
She's just cool.
Yeah. And I knew she was cool when I first met her.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
Did I ever tell you the first thing that impressed me about Tabby? Did I ever tell you this
You might as well
story?
just share it.
Can I tell
because
everybody?
You should tell everyone else.
Because she's worth bragging about. So one of the first things I did when I went to college was gain a love for the sport of volleyball. So didn't play it in high school, didn't have really any affinity for it. And then first few weeks at Emmaus, the first people that I start hanging out with, they play volleyball all the time in the gym, all the time. So they would get these huge groups together, really competitive volleyball, and started playing really good volleyball. So fast forward 2 months in,
26
something
years.
like that. Thankfully, not that many. And we would do these little covert game schedules because we didn't want just anybody coming to the gym and finding us and playing. So we would plan them like later in the evening or times when we knew there wouldn't be many people there. Selfish, maybe a little bit, but we had one scheduled. All of us came to the gym and we looked through the doors, and sure enough, there was a group of people already playing who did not know how to play the sport very well. And most of us immediately were like, oh, this is out. I'm done. I'm not going to play. And Tabby, to her credit, went in and just started playing with them and had the best time. She was laughing. She was having so much fun. And I remember just watching her through the doors of the gym, because I didn't play, and just thinking, this is really impressive about this girl, because she's very good at volleyball, but she's not letting that affect the way she plays and interacts with people.
That's awesome.
Very cool. And that was one of the first things that stood out to me, like, this girl's a step above.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I married her, and then she proved it. She's a step above.
That's kind of how, so I play basketball with these guys sometimes at Davenport Assumption High School, and the dudes are ridiculous. Like Chasen Randall played for the Knicks and the 76ers and is now a free agent. Super good. CJ Carton plays for the G League. Jalen Jones played in Portugal. Like all of these dudes are like pro basketball players. So much better than me. I'm not a pro basketball player, if you guys were wondering.
Yet.
I've been working hard. No, I love basketball, and I'm not terrible, but I'm not
He's not.
that good. And these guys are just crazy. So, but they also just have so much fun when we're playing there that it's like not too competitive to where I feel like I can't have fun because they're just so good. And that's what I like about those guys is they're so nice and they're so cool, but they're also professional basketball players, you know. But they know when to like just have fun and chill and not just dominate everyone all the time.
Right.
That's what makes it fun. That's what makes it fun. If you're too serious all the time, it's just not as fun.
But I also don't like playing sports just for fun. Can I throw that out there?
Yeah.
That's just my reality. I do have a hard time not going all in with sports. So
Yeah.
if you're one of those people who just likes to get together and like, oh, let's not actually keep score, I get a little anxious.
I'm that way if I'm playing with people who are really bad at something.
Yeah.
Then I'm just like, this is not fun to me.
Right.
If everyone's good and having fun, then it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
But if there's like just they don't want to keep score because they're bad, which
Yeah.
is generally why people don't want to keep score, then it ruins the whole thing.
It does.
And it makes
Unless
me
it depends
gassy.
on the sport, like bags. Come on. There's really there's talent involved, but it's not quite the same. It's not athleticism necessarily that makes you excel at that kind of game, or darts, those kind of things. I'm more chill on those, but when it comes to basketball, volleyball, baseball,
Golf.
soccer,
Big golf. Aaron is a huge
golfer.
Yeah.
I
actually
can't
invited him
remember.
yesterday, and he says, I never golfed before.
I would golf with
I
you,
probably
Kyle,
know
in
golf.
a heartbeat, but I have played one par 3 course. I was probably in 10th grade, high school, which is a few years ago.
Yeah, and 3 or 5 or 15.
3 to 15 is right. Let's see, how many would that be? I'm 32. 12. You're what? You're 16 normally when you're a sophomore? Probably 16 years ago. Wow, we were close.
We were.
So I wasn't terrible. I do remember that on the par 3. I remember being surprised I got as far as I did in the course.
Yeah.
I mean, I made it through the
It's
whole
a
thing.
frustrating sport if you're not good.
Yeah.
And I'm not good, but it's really frustrating when you can't get the ball in the air, which is a lot of people's problem.
Yeah, right.
That stinks.
That makes sense. And I think this is the wrong way of thinking, but I always felt like golf was, I always wanted to be, what's the right word? Golf is a different sport than I'm accustomed to. It's more of a gentleman's sport. It's more
technical, very technical.
hands off.
Yeah.
I'm more like used to running into people.
Right.
That's just kind of my style. And the few people that I ran into on the golf course didn't like it. I plowed them over.
Hit him with
And
the cart.
for some reason, they were like, that's not how you play.
Well, it's not how you play, nerd.
Right, exactly.
Get out of my way. All right, so we're like halfway into this podcast. We should probably talk about the failures, because I think that's what we're naming the episode.
Right. I talked a little bit about it.
You did.
I sprinkled.
I think
peppered.
most of the failures in my life that I've learned from do deal with sports, though, I would say, for the most part. Winning all the time is never going to teach you a whole lot.
Right.
Because if you lose, you have to analyze why you lost, what you can get better at to not lose again. If you win, you don't generally analyze why you won as much as you analyze why you lost.
Yes.
And so in basketball, for instance, if we lost a game, we would go watch film. We'd probably have to run for 3 hours straight, because that's just how we dealt with losing for some reason. And then we would just work on the skills that we weren't as good at and develop those skills better. So that always, always, always made us better at the things we were weak at, which you don't usually work on unless there's a point to. Because who likes to do things they're not good at? Not me.
Yeah.
Not me. But my dad, when I was younger, he, more my brother than me, but he was pretty, hard on us when we did lose things. And so that always made me, as an adult, when I did lose things, I just instilled this okay, I have to fix it and get better, because I don't want to lose again next time. And so now I have this mentality. We're both pretty competitive people, you and I.
Yep.
And which is a good thing most of the time. I've had to learn not to get actually angry or upset at any point if I lose, which I don't anymore. I did for a long time. If I lost a pickup basketball game, I would be so angry. Probably wouldn't talk to anyone for a while.
Yeah.
There's no point to that. That's excessive, but it has definitely developed this work ethic to change things when I fail. In business, my failures generally are short-lived. Something won't work well, and then I'll just immediately adapt to it. That's one thing I found out. If a class, we put this new class in place, and sometimes there'll be a huge surge. People will try it. If they don't like it, they won't come back or whatever. And then you just either end it or change it or do whatever you got to do to it. But they're usually, I don't wait very long to do that. Some people may be like, you should give it longer and see if it, has another surge or something. No, we'll probably just give the people what they want, which is obviously not this. So we'll change. So that's kind of how we the customer is always king, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You got to do what the customer wants, and that's what we try to provide. So that's my thing on failure.
That was good, Kyle.
Yeah.
So much failure.
So many fails.
You just shared so much of your failing life.
Yeah. I can't think of anything in like super specific though. It's just.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I envy that. I
Uh-huh.
envy that problem.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I totally concur on the sports front. That's where I got a lot of my training in failing. One thing that my dad always encouraged in us, which is such a good life lesson, that there would be certain games where I played my heart out and we lost. And leaving those games, I remember being so discouraged. My dad drove bus for our away games, so we'd always get to chat on the way back from games. And he would always say, Aaron, you have nothing to hang your head about. You left everything out on the court, and that's what counts. And there are just certain times where people will be better than you, and that, or your team. And that's a reality that totally translates into life. You cannot always pick who is on your team. But you can always choose to do your best at whatever team you're part of, whether it be in the workplace or etc. Circle of friends, all that. So really zeroing in on what can you do in your sphere that you can excel at and do with excellence. And then, translating that into work. I have had so many failures that I would label failures. Maybe not everybody would consider them failures, but just part of the natural ebb and flow of life. One of them being probably the hardest moment for me as a husband, father, human
being
was when I was fired from my job in 2018. So it would have been June 14th, 2018. I went in the morning to my job at the time. And unbeknownst to me, that was going to be my last day. And horribly scarring experience in a number of different ways. I was devastated. My wife was not devastated because she had wanted me to be done at this particular job for a while. And so it just took a more dramatic event to make it happen. But I remember walking home, because we lived within walking distance from my job, and came to the door, and my wife was like, "What are you doing home?" I was like, "I don't have a job." She was like, "Really?" Almost with a smile, which was
she called them
weirdly reassuring. Yeah, she probably organized the whole thing.
Uh-huh.
But I was absolutely wrecked, and I remember going up to my room, to our bedroom, laying down, probably having a good cry, and absolutely my mind racing about what I'm going to do. That night, my wife went into labor with our third child, and I was jobless the next morning. So I remember holding my now 4-year-old daughter, Claire, and looking at her and thinking to myself, how the heck am I going to do this? And it was extremely stressful. And I remember thinking, what in the world is going on? Like, wow, the timing of this could not have been more atrocious. So I looked for a job for 2 weeks, like a madman, applying for everything I could find on Indeed around town and all that kind of stuff. And then made a call that I did not want to make because I don't remember who recommended I reach out, but to a manufacturing company that Kyle is familiar with as well. And I had worked for them, I think I told this story on the podcast, for 3 weeks, one of my first jobs when I was in high school, and did not want to work in that kind of work anymore. And then it was literally like nothing was opening up. And I called him, and the owner of the manufacturing company is very connected in this community. So I reached out and was like, hey, do you know anyone who might be hiring? And he's like, I don't know anyone currently who's hiring, but you can work for me. Come in on Monday. This was on a Friday. And I was, my gut sank, and I knew that this is what I was supposed to do. But it was honestly the thought of this being my day-to-day job was crushing to me, because I was kind of in an artistic job before that. And then this would be, manufacturing is not very artistic.
No, turns out.
So I worked at this manufacturing company for a year, for almost exactly to the date. And not going to pretend that I really, one of the hardest years of my life, in the sense that, like, if you are an artistic or creative person, when you plug yourself into a situation like this, even though you still can do good work, and you can, which I did, work my hardest. They offered me positions higher up in a short amount of time, and but it was not what I wanted to be doing. And during that time, I was thinking to myself, what am I doing? Number one, I was providing for my family, which I knew was the thing to do at the time, and which is exactly why I took the job. But I also knew, and you have to have this perspective when you're going through a time of your life when you're like, this is so not me, is that you can learn things through what you kind of consider to be a failure. Like, I was really wanting to be doing other things, and I thought I was called to do other things, and felt like God wired me to do different things. But through that time, number one, it humbled me. Number two, it increased my work ethic, and gave me an understanding for different people who have to do different jobs. And so looking back on that year, even though it was extremely hard, and in some ways, that whole era of my life was defined by some essence of failure, I think it absolutely informs a big chunk of who I am today, because of going through that. So if you live life on easy street your entire life, you are not going to have to character is always shaped through some sort of friction.
The poop.
That's how you the poop in life,
yep.
As Kyle would say. But when you sharpen anything, it has to be grinded against something, and it creates sparks, and it's really, really hard. But the end product is far better than what you were originally before you went through it.
Yeah, I agree.
So
couldn't agree more.
That was just one.
I think let's hear another.
No. They'll leak out over the years.
Yeah. So here's my thing with failure too, that I never dwell on things a whole lot. Like, I am a get up and keep moving type of guy. And it doesn't mean I don't analyze failure, or I don't grieve or do those things, but I don't sit and just be in sorrow for very long. I pretty much just okay, that sucked. Now let's get up and move forward and figure out what's next. I have one pretty significant failure in my life that we probably won't talk about a whole lot, but that shaped me more than anything probably ever has or will. And would I say I'm thankful for it? Maybe a little bit in some ways. Kind of just mostly sucked. But even in that, I took time to process and grieve and analyze, as you should do when you fail. It should never just be forget about it, move on. You should understand how it's shaping you and changing you. But for me, if I fail in most aspects, I immediately move forward and just figure out what's next. Because, people, if you just sit there and you just think about it and it defeats you, and you don't get up and continue to do what you're good at or what you're passionate about or what you love, it could defeat you fast. It could just wreck your soul, and that's not healthy either.
Right.
So not thinking about it isn't healthy. Thinking about it too much isn't healthy. There's this middle ground that you have to find. But inevitably, life goes on. Always. It always goes on. It never stops. It's not going to slow down for you or anyone else, and everyone else has struggles too. And that's why being nice and kind to people is so important, because you never know what they're walking through as well. But failure is so important. Moving on from failure is equally as important, I would say.
Yes.
And I think you're probably good at that too.
Well, and yeah, I mean, that is the essential part of failure. If failure defines you rather than just is something that's part of your life, then your story will not be its full potential, because you will be defined by failure if you allow yourself to be. But another thing that I think is a huge benefit of failure is it reveals in your life the people who will come alongside you during failure.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes very unexpected. I remember during that incredibly challenging time in my life, there were people that I did not assume either one, understood what I was going through, and number two, cared. Because a lot of times it's not the people you expect who slide into your life, who give you what you need at the time. And I remember being incredibly humbled in that way too, because again, unexpected people who come in and I had no idea, clearly had entered into with me what was going on and was understanding. So I think many good things can come out of failure. And most of the people that you probably admire in your life went through an inordinate amount of failure. Because I firmly believe that's what makes great people. Greatness comes out of failure.
Agreed. You say some big words. Did you know that?
Yes. I did like spelling and vocabulary.
You did. You were big time. Man, sometimes I'm like, I don't know what that word means. I'm just going to guess. I'm over here like just trying to listen and like type in, how do I spell that? I don't
you
know.
should meet my brother, older than me. He's even more so. He was like a wordsmith. So I feel dumb around him. The wordsmith.
Oh,
You've never heard of that?
That's another big word,
It's
which
like
I'm going to have to Google now.
An armorer or like a
Like
gunsmith.
blacksmith?
Those kind of people. You can be a blacksmith.
Be a
wordsmith.
wordsmith.
You create words.
I don't think...
You've never heard... Okay.
A wordsmith to me would be the people that like make up a word and then like put meaning behind it versus like just having a big vocabulary. You know what I'm saying? Because a blacksmith makes swords.
Wordsmith. A skilled user of words.
That's contrary.
The definition.
That's contrary to a blacksmith who creates something.
What, blackness?
No.
What do they
swords?
Right, but swords already exist. You just learn how to form them.
I'm just going to give it
words.
to you. I'm going to give it to you.
Words already exist. You learn how to use them well.
An armor smith.
Boom, 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 boom. That's all I'm
Okay,
gonna say.
so I looked up good news while we were discussing all this stuff because I was just like super interested to know what's going on in the world.
For once.
But not actually. And you want to know the first thing that came up?
I do want to know.
Couple finds 400-year-old coins worth $250,000 stashed under their floor.
Let's rip up your floorboards
We're gonna
right now.
totally destroy this place looking for these coins because $250K would at least start the funding of our castle.
Yeah, it'd be a good start.
But I feel like our castle is gonna have coins in it from 400 years ago.
I know. That's why I think we
Probably.
need to find a used castle.
I agree.
Not a brand new. It needs to
Yeah.
be used.
I'm
and
with
it's
you.
probably in Ireland or Scotland.
My
Probably.
friend is in Ireland right now, and
It's
it
so
looks
wonderful.
beautiful, dude.
Yeah.
Why do we not do that more?
I know. I went to Scotland in 2014, and it literally is like fantasy land. I
Yeah.
could not believe. And there's very few people there, which makes it even more fantastical.
I want to go to New Zealand because of the Lord of the Rings.
Right?
And I
New
want to
Zealand
just...
is more dangerous than Scotland.
Really?
Yes.
In what way?
The more poisonous creatures and deadly creatures.
Then I'm in.
Because it's near Australia, which
You
is
know
also...
I'm down for that.
Are you, though?
Mm-hmm.
You like dangerous creatures?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Then you go to New Zealand,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll go to Scotland.
We can podcast from afar.
There we go.
2 different countries. This could be cool.
Yeah.
Do we got any travel agents listening?
There we go.
Because
2 dudes in a globe.
in-
On the globe. 2 dudes on the globe.
2 dudes around the globe ski.
There's no corner in a globe, so we'd really have to
Ugh.
re-market ourselves.
We'll have to
Rebrand.
get a new caricature.
So much
many
money.
things.
So much
it's
money.
$50 for that caricature.
We need those coins.
I thought it was gonna be $25, but it's $25 a person. Caricature ended up being $50.
It was
Did
more
not
expensive.
read
Yeah.
the fine print. which is how I roll. I would.
Yeah, and we debated whether to get
Okay.
it or not, and Kyle was like, "Oh, it's only $20," and it wasn't. $20.
And you throw a tip on it too.
Yeah.
Are
But
you a big
it's an
tipper?
Heirloom. Am I a big tipper? I'm always a 20%er, if
Yeah.
that's considered a big tipper.
I'd say that's big enough. Yeah.
But I struggle with that because service nowadays is really plummeting, so I don't know how to handle that.
Until you and I are
Waiters.
doing some waiter work. I'm still thinking about it.
I know.
Still been on my mind. Just
I'm
don't
waiting
know
for
where
you
to do it. Don't
to
know where to do
Get
it.
the ball rolling. You're the one that knows everybody in this.
Where should we do
town.
it though? Is the thing. I don't
This
know.
place that your said is start. Your said.
You said it's starting.
You said it's starting.
I
The
know.
brewery.
I know, and I'm trying to get a hold of the guy, and I can't. But I'm trying.
He probably doesn't. He probably doesn't listen to our podcast. That's why.
No, yeah. If he did, he would already hired us. We wouldn't have
We'd
the
be
interview or
hired.
nothing.
And we'd be rolling in it.
I want to interview somewhere just for the sake of it. The last time I interviewed, I was 18 years old. I'm 25 now.
Wow.
And I interviewed and got the job on the spot because I was
Was that
I
your
already-
bank one?
that one and Anytime Fitness, both of them.
Mm.
Yeah, they both. I interviewed in the same day, got hired.
They must have been really, really desperate.
No,
kidding.
they probably
Make
honestly
a great
were.
first impression.
First impressions are earth, then. That's what they say.
That's what they say. Yeah.
So, you told me that once, I think.
I don't think I've ever said that in my life. But we are out of town. Out of town.
We're out of time already. We're out of town. Out of time. No way. That was already 45 minutes.
I'm out of town, technically, because
Yeah.
I'm out of my town to record
True.
this. But we're 47 minutes
Oh my gosh.
in.
Time flies when you're having fun, huh?
Plage.
Well, I hope you guys go fail a little bit so you can
Seriously.
be so much better afterwards.
And if you have failure stories that you want to share with us, submit them.
Yeah, just
Share them with us. We
message
love
us.
everyone. It's good to tell your story, so we would love to hear yours. And eventually, also, as always, if you have questions you want answered on the podcast, we will take questions. We
Yeah.
will.
we might answer them too.
We might answer them. We may not.
But regardless, go follow us on social media. Go share with your friends because you think we're cool and we think you're cool. And also, we love you, even though we don't know you yet.
It's true. And we'll see you next week, right here in our corner of the studio. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Kyle,
This is Two Dudes in a Corner.
checking off now.